think a few months back when we started looking at this program, we wanted to see what can we do to make it slightly different. One was in the context of Bangalore is obviously a tech ecosystem, and therefore a lot of conversations around that. You heard the minister talk about it, Harshal talk about it, Mr. Prashant Prakash talk about it. And therefore you will hear a bit around that. The second piece, which we were very keen on, is inclusive growth. To be honest, we were expecting the Controller General for IP also to join us, but the last minute he wasn't able to. That's why some of you may have seen I have two really very interesting speakers, both coming from the space of technology and inclusion. I will start with, and I'll start the introduction giving you a little bit of Ms. Ramalakshmi Penugonda, who's the General Manager from NABARD. She's working on the data warehousing and also the digital agri stack, which is the future of this area. And if we look at this area 10 years from now, we may find a very, very different ecosystem. Given that we want them to kind of cover quite a bit over the next 10 minutes, what I'd request Ramalakshmi is to kind of share her perspectives from a technology perspective. What are they doing in Bandhan Bank to get ready for the future? What are they doing from an AI perspective? What is the work that they are driving for the digital agri stack, which is a really, really important area? And therefore, they are actually in the heart of all of that. So over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Before I get into this digital agri stack and partnership with Government of India, I'd like to give a brief introduction about what NABARD is and what we stand for. See, NABARD has been set up with a mandate for rural and agriculture development. The motto of NABARD is development through credit. The credit, not per se disbursement of credit. We involve in the credit planning across the country, district-wise. For all the 700 plus districts, we have been doing this potential linked credit plans for the past 40 years. This potential includes entire agri and rural ecosystem and what are the opportunities available in the district and what are the infrastructure facilities and what are the gaps and where the banking institutions can finance. These reports are consolidated into every state level and they are called state focus papers. Entire this data we have been using to give policy advocacy to Ministry of Agriculture. Every year before formulation of the budget and setting the targets for agriculture credit in the country, they would seek inputs from NABARD, and using all this information in inputs we have collected from each and every district, we give them our inputs, and based on our policy advocacy, the agriculture credit target for the entire country sets by the Ministry of Finance. See, the 24-25, the target was around 27 lakh crores. So this is the numbers we are working with, and for this we have got a solid foundation of data from each and every district collected by our own officers placed in each and every district. We call them district development managers. They are involved in this holistic process on an annual basis. And then after this, our another significant achievement is microfinance. Bandhan Bank CEOs are just mentioned some 2-3 incidents of 2-3 success stories. We have got some 16 crore success stories within our kitty, I would say. It started as a small program like 500 pilot project, 500 SHGs bank linkage program pilot project in 1992, and now we have crossed about 16 crore families almost. So this is this, and we can say all 16 crore families are examples of Bandhan Bank's customers. So these kind of success stories we spread across. Once we understood that in one part of the country, in one district, through one financial institution, if such success can be possible, we spread it across the country, and we have seen, we have reached nooks and corners of the country through our biggest microfinance program. This is another achievement. Apart from this, we have got rural infrastructure development in our portfolio. We have created 1 lakh plus infrastructure projects in rural area, rural India, through the funding from the PSL. PSL is the priority sector lending shortfall of all the banks. That amounts and that funds are routed through NABARD to reach out to this rural infrastructure creation. So we last 27, 28 years on an annual basis, we are getting some budget allocations from the government, and these funds are routed for the infrastructure creation. Major infrastructure projects we implemented are rural roads and irrigation projects. This is our another a feather in our cap, we would say. Major portfolio of our balance sheet as well, and major activity of NABARD in the rural areas. And then financial inclusion. Financial Inclusion Fund of Reserve Bank of India is routed through NABARD for creating financial awareness and development of products for improving the financial inclusion in the unbanked and unreached areas. And the unreached areas, especially the Andaman, Nicobar and such islands which are cut off from the mainland, and also hilly regions of Uttarakhand, Leh, Ladakh and Jammu Kashmir. All these areas, Northeast, all these areas we are covering and creating financial awareness, and we are now reaching the unreached so far through all the financial services that can be made available. And we are partnering with so many NGOs and rural financial institutions in our journey of financial inclusion. Then we have got another mandate given by Government of India and Reserve Bank of India is institutional development. All the rural financial institutions like rural cooperative banks and rural regional banks, all these banks are coming under the purview of our supervision, NABARD supervision. We are covering inspection of around 400 odd entities in the rural areas, and their development as well. Whatever institutional challenges they are facing, we are trying to cover them through our institutional development, holistic institutional development programs and schemes for the past 40, 42 years. So we are like rooting for their development in competing with commercial banks and new age banks, new age financial institutions in rural areas. We are supporting them holistically. Then apart from all these activities, we have been, our development through credit is not only limited to credit dispensation, and we are also developing skills and entrepreneurships through our off-farm sector activities and also on-farm sector activities. Various activities identifying the skills challenges within rural India. We have formulated many schemes and programs and policies to develop these skills and entrepreneurship in rural areas, and we have partnered with, again in this journey also, so many NGOs and financial institutions, both for skill development and also providing them with limited credit, whatever micro enterprise they would like to take up with. Apart from this, we are also engaged in natural resources management. All our activities, be it watershed development or orchard development involving the tribals and vulnerable communities across rural India, they are all for natural resource management. Earlier, when we were implementing these development programs, we used to simply call them development programs. Later, because of awareness creation and also international focus on this natural resource management, we have put climate sense on top of all these programs. So we are looking at all these programs through climate lens and also natural resources management, ESG related metrics as well we are trying to use now. But our entire programs, our entire development agenda is involved in natural resources and also climate resilience programs. Then women empowerment, as I have already mentioned, through self-help group, bank linkage programs, we have empowered around 16 crore women through microcredit programs. Then about geographical inclusion, all our programs and policies are centered around aspirational districts, left-wing extremism districts, or recently RBI has come out with one more metric that wherever the priority sector lending is going slow, all those districts have to be covered with various banking interventions. These programs also, we are forming part of government's advocacy panel and also for implementation as well. So all these districts are our focus areas these days, and many programs and schemes are being formulated to reach out to all these districts. Then in our off-farm sector interventions, apart from skill development, we are also identifying the geographical identifier products and trying to get them, certification and these marketing for all these products. This is another, active involvement of NABARD in GI products and their certification. We have, identified dozens of such products and helped in certification, getting them certification, and also improving the marketability of these products.
Do you mind if I share a story on this one? Many of you know that Sundarbans in Bengal, it's a really remote area, and the women there, they've done a GI tagging of something called the Mawa Laddus. The shelf life of those laddus was just 36 hours. So which basically meant you consume it, very hot, humid weather. They did the GI tagging, decided to commercially send it out by the Indian Post packing it in dry ice. Shelf life 7 days, and I think they pushed it to about 15 days for international shipping. Result of that, it's women who are actually making these laddus. You're getting something really unique, and it drives a change that we don't realize. And the GI tagging is really a fascinating space, and I'm so glad that, I think it got touched on earlier in the day. So opportunities, if you're looking in Bangalore, you have that, the Beans Festival. Look at all those jalebis and the kind of things that they have. GI tagging, potential opportunity.
Ramban honey is one of the items from Jammu Kashmir. Udupi sarees from here in Karnataka. And so many such examples we have got. Pochampalli sarees from Andhra Pradesh. So many such, items, especially handicrafts, handlooms, Varanasi, the Jolly work. I cannot just name them. So many of them are there. We through our district development managers, we could identify this potential and we try to, get them certified, and we supported this marketing. And then, yes, now let us go to our digital interventions. We have collected a lot of such data, for the last 30, 40 years. We have created scales of finance for every district and every state. There are a lot of distortions in this data. Same crop will be, named differently within the same state or across the states. And the range of finance will be so huge. Branch managers, while trying to, identify what is the finance that can be, extended to a farmer for a crop using some, land. The units of land are, measured differently across the country, and the crop names are differently, given in the database. So we are trying to consolidate all this information, standardize all the names, standardize all the units, giving the minimum and maximum range that can be provided as a finance under in the scale of finance registry. This scale of finance registry is being used on experimental basis for this EKCC project, which is under implementation by some of the fintechs in some 4 to 8 states currently ongoing, and then it will be expanded across the country. And this scale of finance registry is one of our 4 decades of struggle and hard work in this area. And this registry is being shared with AgriStack, and this registry, once the API is published across the banking fraternity, it will be shared, and branch managers' problem of identifying the potential finance that can be provided for each crop in each district for each unit of land is solved forever. This is one of our latest achievements. Similarly, under agriculture credit again, unit cost for the investment IT activities, be it allied sectors, dairy animal project, or fishery sector project, or even tractor finance or harvester finance. All these activities we are standardizing across the country, across the state level, and we are providing the branch managers with the required inputs. If they give, the output will be generated out of this solution. This is the kind of solution we are. This is a work in progress. It will be shortly published as an API through AgriStack. This is one more. There are a lot of agriculture specialists in our bank who are working in this, standardizing the unit cost for each activity based on the level of activity, right? And then these, apart from these two, we have got the entire RFI's location based information with us. So this is also again going to form as a registry in the AgriStack, and we are providing the required input for Government of India about this. Then we are also having data sharing arrangements with a lot of government sector entities and also private sector players. Apart from this, IASRI, the agriculture ICAR institute, which compiles the entire agriculture data in the country. So we have got data sharing arrangement with them as well. So entire data which has been there with them for the last 60, 70 years. So entire data structure we will be having access to, and we will be providing the same data access to whoever requires this. So far, the data which is available in this ecosystem is not known to many players. That is the issue. So through our network and through our outreach, we are going to provide access to all the required stakeholders. Then standardization, as I already told you, standardization is a major challenge in any data set that is being used by many stakeholders. So we are working on the standardization project also. For any kind of agricultural data input, we would like to provide standardized norms and information. And cleansing and validation is another activity we have taken up for especially banking fraternity. We are trying to provide the cleanest and validated data that is collected from our stakeholders, and that is shared by our collaborating agencies.
So I think I think that's really amazing. What a lot of people wonder is, why did we pick on agri? In 23, I think between KDM and TAI, we ran 24 events, digital events. And what we found was maximum interest was there in the agri side of things. And what we realized is Karnataka has about 40 mandis. It's got 15 years of data, about 30 or 40 databases, which has a lot of this information. The unlocking is not bottom of the pyramid. It's unlocking of driving the GDP of a number of places. For example, Mandya is known to have the highest GDP numbers in the country. So if you start looking at GDP at the state level, at the village level, there's actually a startup which is doing that. And if you link it to the credit opportunity at the banking sector, the potential of moving the per capita income will be tremendous. So 10 years from now, it will not be a question of the poor farmer, it will be a question of the entrepreneur farmer. So that will be really fantastic. So with this, I'd like to invite Mr. Ajay Jakhar. He is really an amazing person. I mean, I was just looking at all the stuff that he has done. Please, really lovely to have you here, sir. Ajay is the chairman of Bharat Krishak Samaj. He's the vice chair of Sustainable Consumption and UN Food Champion. He's also been part of the UN Food Systems Summit. He is a highly respected economist and a policy thinker. I think I'd like him to talk about the vision and perspectives for inclusive growth, key challenges, and some of the solutions that he's working on. We'll keep it, given that he's got such a rich experience, I won't bore him with questions, but free flow for whatever you want to share.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. When I was called to invited to speak on this event. The topic that I was given was to speak on intellectual property, vision for inclusive growth, problems to solve. So I think that's a much more interesting subject to talk on. So I did not take your question, and I'll speak on that topic because I think nobody else is going to raise these issues that I think from where I am at the bottom of the pyramid representing farmers would want to raise on this platform. I hope that's fine.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
fantastic.
but that's what I was asked to do it. So this subject is on financial and the interspace of finance and technology. I think I'd want to place the devil's advocate and lay out a few problems that all of you collectively have to solve, and be cognizant of that these problems also exist, and these are consequences of the way you are succeeding, and this is the space. So first is fintech allows for concentration of wealth. If you look at the top 20 companies in the world today by market capitalization, I think so half of them have to do with financial technologies. And that is a problem that government policy must be cognizant about. If you look at, I'm just giving examples, trying to be quick about it. If you look at China, if you look at Ant Financial or Tencent, you will see that Alipay handles more than half of countries' online payments. Would we want Indian financial technologies to be on the same space where one or two companies have a control of the whole space? As a farmer where I am, I mean, even farmers are consumers. So I was in an agri-fintech sale and I said, farmers are not just producers. Farmers don't grow everything we eat. We also buy from the market. So we are also consumers. So as a consumer, as a citizen of the country, I think this is one point I would want to say, that we need to be very clear about it, that the regulation is in place that such things do not happen. From a farmer's point of view, when you look at financial technologies, it's about data privacy. When farmers go for crop loan, because I'm going to try and relate whatever I'm saying to farming, because that's what you have me here for. When I go for a crop loan, the government forces me to take crop insurance. It's a part of the loan. Even if I want the loan, I'll have to take insurance. If I take crop insurance or crop loan, my data gets given to companies. I have no control of it, right? So I think, and of course, data is absolutely crucial for any fintech, agriculture, technology company to come, and I'm not against it at all. But I'm just saying that if the farmer's data is being made available to the private sector and they are being allowed to monetize on it, nothing wrong with it. We should also get something out of it. That's what I'm saying. And how that works out, it's not necessarily that each farmer needs to be paid because of the data they have. But if some part of the data is being monetized by the private sector, then something must come back to the public sector, to the common good, to the commons, that the data can be used. I will give an example of AgriStack. AgriStack is collecting data, driving efficiencies in the fintech sector, right? Now, the Gates Foundation is actively involved in designing and implementing AgriStack, a digital public interface for Indian agriculture. I have been involved with AgriStack myself. I have been part of many consultations. And also its related company, Microsoft, is involved with AgriStack initiative through an MOU with the Indian government to create a unified farmer service interface using cloud computing. Now, as a farmer, I think these are conflicts of interest. And these are detrimental for not only Indian farmers, for Indian fintech companies also. So my point of view is that what is necessarily good for the larger companies is not necessarily good for smaller, medium companies, for companies which are trying to grow out. And as a farmers organization, I'd want to tell the organizers of this conference and both of you that our stand has been very clear that private philanthropic money should not influence government policy. So very, very clearly. It's got to be government money, government policies. I was with the minister before he was on the stage here, and he said, we were discussing what we do. I said, the problem is that the architecture, the laws, the regulation, implementation is being helped and designed by the private sector. So the very people who are going to be governed by those laws are the ones who are designing that architecture. Like the Razorpay CEO, founder CEO said that We are preempting regulation, that what regulation we want, and we consult with the government and we tell the government what regulation we want. That's exactly what we don't want. I didn't want to raise it and embarrass him at the situation, because this is the heart of the issue as you're going forward. Don't look at it at what's happening in the next few days. Look at it in the next 10, 20 years, like Amrit Kal ka jo vision hai, look at it. We need a different architecture. So I suggested to the minister before the event that the problem is not skilling the private sector or the people. The problem, like he said, we have a skilling center. The problem is skilling government officials, that they know what regulation is about, how that implementation will happen, how that fine print will happen. I deal with Niti Aayog, I deal with the Prime Minister's office, I deal with others, and I find that they are not up to the mark to be able to regulate, design, even conceptualize issues that may come up. And I understand it's an evolving sector, but these are issues that I want to take one more minute, because normally private sector does not invite farmers like this, and maybe you won't invite me again, but having this opportunity, I think I must put these points across. And, like pesticide companies take our data, fertilizer companies take our data, banks take our data. Everything is being made available to the private sector by the government. And this is for Karnataka, this is for Andhra Pradesh, this is for all states. It's not particular to anything. But I'm just saying that if data is being made available, yes, it has to be made available for the system to evolve, but something should come out of it, and we should spend more time on regulation. The other thing I was asked to talk about was intellectual property rights. Now, it was pretty, because I don't know much about intellectual property rights, other than, all the biotech companies taking rights of our traditional trees, plants, forest rights, and monetizing it the world over, right? That's one of the issues. But the point is that, so there is this tariff war happening. All of you must have heard about it, that USA has, imposed tariffs on rest of the world. But you will be surprised to know that these laws made in the USA are amongst America's most successful exports. The laws. USA signed zero tariff deals with countries like Mexico and Canada. So in return for tariff-free access, if they agreed to US laws, that was the intellectual property law of anti-circumvention. So that companies would continue to pay Amazon, continue to pay Google for using the services and things like that. So as a farmer, I would want to say that we don't need to recognize these US laws in India. It may be detrimental for large companies. It will be very good for fintech companies or smaller scale. Why should Indian small companies need to pay platforms like Amazon, pay Google, pay other things? We do not need to recognize those laws. And if there is a tariff war with the US, this is what many countries are contemplating to do. You will read it over the next few months. We should also be looking at it that we will not recognize your laws. Forget tariffs. Tariffs are secondary, I think. The whole focus is on laws that make us recognize these laws, that we are not allowed to bypass these controls that they have in Amazon and other companies that they have. I think so. I let it go. I think so. I've said, I have lots to say, and I could continue on this, but I think this is it. The last point I want to say is, I thought, the NABARD, somebody from NABARD was supposed to be here. You're from NABARD, right? So this is something I got to say to you. And this is the last point, but I can answer questions after this or before this, is that when you lay out this financial technology, efficiency drives in. So it will be very efficient, right? AgriStack will come in, efficiency will drive in. What will happen is that all the good customers, so in every village, I don't know if you know, in most villages have a primary agriculture society which gives credit to the farmer in terms of money, in terms of produce and stuff like that. And you have small rural banks. Efficiency coming through AgriStack, coming through these platforms will be the death of primary agriculture societies. And I asked this question to the last NABARD chairman. We were in Bombay, and he agreed with me. So I said, what are you going to do about it? You know very well that this efficiency, those primary agriculture societies will never become efficient because they're inherently not there yet. I mean, because of various reasons. Same as with rural cooperative banks. The answer the NABARD chairman gave was that we're going to do computerization because of all cooperative societies. I said, cooperative society, if you put a computer, who's going to operate it? There's no bijli, there's no cleanliness, there is no software. How just providing hardware does not mean. So I really think we need to be very careful that The efficiency that agri-fintech will drive will also create problems at the bottom end where farmers are. And that's where the bigger opportunities are also. It's not that opportunities don't exist. And I'm fully for agri-fintech. I think you should be there. I'm only using this platform to highlight the fact that the government needs to buckle up their act and stop telling farmers how to farm, stop telling fintech how to farm, but put their house in order and make sure that regulation is available, make sure implementation is available, make sure the architecture provides equity and equality, and we are not left at the mercy of large companies. That's what I want to say. Thank you so much.
No, Ajay, really very, very insightful. The reason the intellectual property conversation was put into this one was we wanted this to be a session which brings in inclusive growth, also some of the dimensions of change which are needed when we're looking at it. The Controller General was supposed to come for intellectual property, then the conversation would have been a little more richer than this. I think what a lot of people don't realize is a few years ago, India was working very strongly with Pakistan for some of the biodiversity-linked IP. And thanks to the kind of situation we have in terms of relationship, we have a lose-lose situation on that particular topic, and we wouldn't be surprised if some other country chooses to take advantage of it. So from a country perspective, these are topics that we need to be bringing in. If you look at the startups, less than 3% of them register IP. And fintechs, I looked at it, very, very few. So I think from a awareness perspective, that was the main reason we brought it in, because I think it's a massive area for change and awareness. Because if the world is operating in a certain way, we also need to be kind of aware of it. But having said that, I know we have only less than 5 seconds to wrap up. It's been an interesting session personally for me, because it's richness of a large organization bringing about change and a perspective from a farmer who's got very deep understanding of what that impact of change could be. So I'm sure many people will have questions. I will leave it to people to get in touch with both the players to take this forward. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.